Despite their success, the Arab armies did not pursue their conquest towards the east, and the Chinese armies never adventured further west. The return of peace occurred at the same time as the Arabs in Persia discovered the secrets of manufacturing paper. Invented by the Chinese, paper arrived in Persia with the caravans of the Sogdians, inhabitants of Bukhara and Samarkand. Printing on paper was invented in Chang'an, the capital of China at the time. The Chinese technique traveled to Japan, where the first book in history, the Lotus Sutra, was published in 759. Samarkand, in Uzbekistan. In this factory, the process used at the time of the Abbasids to manufacture paper has been reconstructed. The starting point was vegetable fibers, such as hemp, cotton, or in the absence of these, rough cloth fibers. They were discolored using lime and then boiled until they turned into a paste. The fibers were broken down in a mortar. Glue, made with apricot skins, was mixed into this paste. Spread out and dried in thin layers, it produced sheets of paper.
Этот вид бумаги из леона, она очень прочная, потому что она считается почти как между шелком и хлопок. Отсюда, по историческим данным, она отсюда поехала в Иран, потом Ирак, потом Багдад.
Jonathan Bloom, an expert on Arab paper, believes that the discovery of how to manufacture paper had an immense impact on the commercial relations and political administration of the Abbasid Caliphate. Up to then, the Arabs wrote in ink on parchments produced from sheepskins or goatskins. The ink was made from soot diluted with water, which meant that writing could be erased. All that was needed was to rub the parchment with a wet cloth. The accidental erasure, or the falsification of administrative and commercial texts, was a recurrent problem. The use of paper removed these drawbacks.
The ink penetrates into the spaces in between the fibers, and it works its way into the paper. This is an advantage in the sense that if you want to keep from forging a document, you know you can't change it without difficulty. On the other hand, sometimes calligraphers wanted a smoother surface that wouldn't blot up the ink, and so they often put sizing on the surface of the paper so that the ink would stay on its surface. To administer such an enormous empire, they needed to keep documents. And discovering paper at that point, encountering paper, was a perfect answer to how to make all these documents and keep all these ledgers.
The manufacturing of paper reinforced the bureaucratic system and underpinned the centralized power of the caliphate. It participated in the spreading of knowledge and, in particular, played a crucial role in the propagation of Islam. The use of paper led to a rapid increase in the number of copies of the Quran in circulation. Assisted by this widespread distribution, its precepts played a part both in the religious evolution of the caliphate and in cementing its unity. In the caliphate, in addition to theological texts, texts from ancient authors, so far only reproduced on papyrus, were copied onto paper. All the books from the ancient world were systematically recopied in their original language. As early as 813, Caliph Mahmud started translating from Greek to Arabic. Hippocrates, Galen, Ptolemy, Euclid, Plato, and the Stoics, who were unknown in Western Europe. Indian authors and Persian inventors were also translated, and Hindu numbers, which we call Arabic, were introduced. Modern-day analytical geometry was invented. The Arab-Persian culture enriched the ancient heritage in the area of medicine. In astronomy, the length of the solar year was determined. Baghdad became the guardian of ancient knowledge, which, when transferred to the West, would lead to the Renaissance. This document was a catalogue listing various religious, philosophical, mathematical, astronomical, and medical texts. It also listed many classical ancient Greek texts, translated into Arabic, such as Physics and Ethics by Aristotle. The intellectual fervour at that time led to the creation of large libraries throughout the Arab world.
In the medieval Islamic world, there were huge libraries, that rulers had enormous libraries. For example, in Cordova, in Spain, we know that the library there was modeled on the library that was in Baghdad, the Caliph's library in Baghdad. And it is said that that library had 400,000 books in the collection. In Baghdad, the libraries had hundreds and hundreds of thousands of books. In Cairo, it is said that the library had hundreds of thousands of books. This situation is entirely different from what happened in Europe, or was going on in Europe at the same time, where the monasteries were the places where books were kept. And a monastery would be very pleased if it had 5 books or 10 books, and maybe some had 100 books. Even the best library in Europe in the Middle Ages was the University of Paris, where the library there had 3,000 books in its catalog, but half of the books were missing, so they couldn't be consulted at all.
Medicine reached an incomparable level. The head of the School of Medicine was Ali Abu Ibn Sina, or Avicenna, a Persian from Bukhara. Europe would benefit from his clinical observations and systemization. He also wrote commentaries on Aristotle. His book, The Canon of Medicine, was the most advanced medical treatise of the period. This representation of human anatomy was based on dissections, which were prohibited in the West at that time. This avant-garde medicine was the trigger for the building of hospitals throughout the Caliphate, an Iranian invention. The Al-Nuri Hospital in Syria, built 7 centuries ago, is now a museum of medicine. It provides an insight into how a general hospital would have been organized in the past. In common with modern-day hospitals, it had a range of units: internal surgery, obstetrics, and psychiatry. Patients requiring treatment that meant long stays in hospital could be accommodated in the building. Surgeons used these types of instruments. As their anatomical knowledge advanced, they were able to perform increasingly complex surgery. A sponge imbibed with a poppy-based solution was used for anesthesia. This surgeon's gown, displaying texts from the Quran, was a reminder that temporal and spiritual matters go hand in hand.